Hey everyone, this is the Stories to Sales podcast with yours truly, Dhara Singh. And this is my friend Rashmi Gill. And
Hi.
Rashmi, it's so nice to have you. And guys, if you're on Instagram and you haven't checked out Rashmi's page, the vibrancy and just the heart she puts into everything she does, you'll see some like big name folks. But her work as a visual storyteller just speaks for itself. So, Rashmi, I would love for you to share about who you are and what you do.
Oh my gosh, well, thank you for that. That was very, very sweet. I always, it's not, I don't miss the fact, I really I don't take for granted, sorry. Haven't had my second cup of coffee yet. I don't take it for granted when people appreciate what I post because it's very important to me that people resonate, but also it's authentic to who I am as not just as a person, as a brand, all of that. But thank you for saying that. That's very kind. Yeah, who am I? Oh my gosh. Well, I was born in London, and like any good Indian girl back born in the 70s, growing up in the 80s, 90s, I was told that I had to become a professional, and that back then that meant lawyer, doctor, dentist, engineer. And I think you're too young to remember LA Law, but I used to watch all these American law programs, and so I was like, great, I'm going to become a lawyer. And so I did. That was my track. I went for it, and
Wow.
uh, that's all I thought I was going to do. I was going to become this lawyer. Law in England is very different to law in America. It's not as dramatized and is much more formal. And there's lots of different sort of elements of it that I didn't expect. But more than anything else, there were two things. Becoming a lawyer, I wanted to help people, and dare I say it, all I felt I was doing was helping the firm make money, and it was more commercialized than I thought humanized. And I was doing immigration and family law, so you can get much more human than that. But I also always had this creative side that was festering behind, and my entire family, my two brothers, my mom and dad, even though we did professional jobs, we all had some kind of creative element in our body, whether it be music, art, photography, and mine was photography. Long story short, I started doing photography on the side. I then started a business in London, and
How old were
yeah.
you
Oh
when
gosh.
you picked up your first camera?
Oh, I was young. When I picked up my first camera, I was young, but it was just literally one of those point and shoot film cameras. I would just go around. I was the one who would always capture what was happening at a birthday. Like, I was all about the memories. I wanted to keep those memories. My dad used to have one of those big SLR film SLRs. He was really good at taking pictures of us on holidays. So I was quite young. I actually don't remember. But the first time I got my first ever, it was a Canon 20D digital camera. It was just coming through digital. And I was, gosh, late 20s, almost 30, I think. Maybe late, almost 30, yeah. And that's when I kind of really got into a bit more and started the business back in London.
And then when you started your business, was it just like what were your subjects at first?
Oh God! So I did everything, mainly all people, but I did weddings, I did events, I did fashion, I did beauty, I did. Oh my gosh, I did everything. And I did catalogs, magazines. The thing is, I learned photography. I was just like, okay, I need to understand photography. I went to someone in Cornwall, Bjorn, who was amazing, and he taught me everything I needed to know about lighting. He was like my lighting guru. I spent a lot of time going to all the conferences and learning about photography. But the one thing I realized now, when then I came to New York, the one thing I realized no one was teaching me was the business side of it. So I was learning all the photography, and I was getting very good at that, but I wasn't making money, and I wasn't
Mm.
treating it like a business. And also, people weren't valuing me as a service provider. And so there was a lot of, oh, can
Why?
you do, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
Why do you think they weren't valuing you as a service provider?
I mean, this is a whole different conversation, which I really want to have at some point as well.
Yeah.
I think just generally creatives aren't valued in the same way that you would value someone who's providing you with a product. Because we're providing with a service and you don't it's not tactile in the same way. Yes, I could provide prints and framed art, all of that stuff, but people don't see the value. And there was whether it be in any type of photography, events, weddings, personal branding, it's taken me a while to understand that if you don't value yourself, people aren't going to value you. So I did a lot of work. I met my mentor Sue Bryce when I came to New York. I'd been following her in London but met her properly in New York, and she was the one that helped me and a bunch of other photographers. She had a whole incredible community to shift that mindset of valuing yourself. I say understanding that if you're not making money from it, it's a hobby, not a business. And then also teaching the business side. And that was the bit that made everything click. And when that clicked, I was like, let's go. You know,
Like you were like when you came to America, were you already doing it kind of full time or it? Yeah.
sort of, yeah. So I was a late mom. I had my first child at 37 and then my second at, oh my gosh, 45. So COVID.
Wow.
I'm very open about the whole IVF journey.
No,
And yeah,
I actually wanted to ask you about that because
yeah.
I saw that on your Instagram the other day and I was like, I mean, I love just seeing individual and unique brown journeys of brown women too. And obviously I don't have kids, you know, hopefully one day, hopefully. It I was like, yeah, I'd love to learn about your journey there too.
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about that now as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd been married 10 years and we still hadn't had kids, and I was still in London at the time, and no one would talk to me about my options. All I would get is the shame and the stigma attached to not having a child after 10 years. So I had the most ridiculous things being said to me, things like, is everything okay with your marriage? If you have a child, fix the marriage. Don't you want to have children? You know, children are the best thing. Oh, the best was, it's your fault you don't have children. And
That's
that
messed up.
stuck.
Yeah.
That's messed up. There's some messed up stuff out there. You know,
I'm
people
sorry, was
just
that were I mean, I know older like I know different
older
generations have different
generations.
mindsets.
Yep, yep, yep.
Was it like was it someone close to you? Because I would imagine it
Yeah,
was, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was a lot of the time. It was people close to me. You know, family members, direct family members, extended family members rather. My parents were pretty good. They never really said anything. But what really struck me was no one would talk about the options or just say, Rashmi, are you okay? Do you want to talk about anything? Like, how do you feel? Like, what's, you know, do you want children? Do you actually want children? Like, people don't even think to ask. That's a choice as well. But anyway, I ended up talking to the doctor about it just randomly. And he's like, well, have you thought about IVF? And back in London, especially, 11, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, no one really talked about IVF in the way that people do now. And even then it was seen as something that happens in America, and I didn't think it was developing in England. Met the most incredible doctor and he helped us, and that's when I had my first child, and she was 1 when we moved here. And then I continued while I was here to have treatments and procedures and all sorts I tried IUIs, I tried getting more eggs, I tried embryos, and eventually, long story short, I had my son in 2020. And then I had 2 embryos left, which I tried in June and then in January. So the last one was in, oh my gosh, now that we're in 26, 25. Last one was 2025 January. Is that right? I can't even remember now. It's all skewed. or 24, and that was my last one, and that's when I really took the month of January to kind of just go, okay, wow, that's my last one. And I know for me, I mourned. I grieved the fact that I wasn't going to have any more children, and I put this up in a post recently. Even though everyone would say to me, at least you have 2 healthy children. I know you mean well, that's not what you need to say. It doesn't take away from the fact that I actually still wanted more. I wanted 4, let's be frank.
Aw.
When I was younger, I wanted 4. I don't think I can handle 4 now. But that was my dream, and you can't take away from someone the fact that that's what they wanted. Yes, I have 2 incredible children and I'm grateful for them, but that you can't take away from people that they wanted more. I wanted more.
That
So yeah.
the morning of a dream that hasn't manifested, like it, like meaning that just came out of nowhere, but the morning of a dream
She put it on a t-shirt.
yeah, the morning of a dream.
That haven't manifested. That's great.
I mean, I know, I mean, there's, I have like this decade of my 30s ahead of me and I guess one of the things I could relate to is as a brown woman, there's so many expectations placed on you. Hey, you should get married, you should have a kid, you should, X, Y, and Z. And very times few people ask you, like, are you happy? Like, what do you want to do? And I sympathize with your story because here you are, even right now or recently in your post, just mourning that, like, all right, 2 kids, and I wasn't able, like, the 4-kid dream just didn't happen. And do you think something like that, when people see you on the outside, because I know, like, for instance, the time that I met you and just seeing your social media posts, you have a very, like, vibrant energy, but do you think more often than not, that those struggles that you went through, do you think they get kind of discounted, or or people are
Yeah.
supportive and they're aware?
Yeah, I mean, I have grown so much in the last few years that I openly say I feel the strongest I've ever felt, like emotionally, mentally, physically, not so much because perimenopause is kicking my ass. But sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to use that word, but anyway.
No, yeah.
But I was that person that would like hide my feelings from the public, my friends and stuff. But I don't think that is healthy. I think it's important to show emotion, not to everyone, because not everyone will get it, and it's probably not always the right setting, but to the right people in the right way. And it's okay to show emotion. So even with my kids, I have a son and a daughter, I say to them both, if you want to cry, you cry. If you want to scream, you scream. If you want to use your words to tell me how you feel. Don't use your body. I never want to see physical things, but as in you lashing out, I want you to, unless it's like to really kind of, we have a punching bag, for example, like that's what we use.
Okay.
Especially for my son, I am very, very conscious that growing up as a boy, the generation that I grew up with or were older than me were always told boys don't cry. And I think that is BS. Boys need to cry, they need to show their emotions, because then otherwise it gets manifested as something else later on in life and they're not able to deal with their emotions or partners if they have one. Emotions for me are very important, and when people say, are you okay? I don't just automatically say, yeah, I'm fine. I will openly say, no, I'm actually tired. No, actually, I had a bit of a shitty day. No, this has really bugged me today. Or if someone has bugged me, I will tell them in the nicest, gracious way. So yeah, generally, yes, I am that person that you see. But it's funny if I'm not that person, people automatically assume what's happened. Why are you being so grumpy? Yeah. And that is also an assumption which I don't like. People always think just because you're not that person they see all the time, that bright, happy, vivacious person, just because you're quiet doesn't mean that there's always something wrong either. You
I
know, it
know
like
I
goes
have,
two ways.
yeah. I mean, I can relate. I have those moments where I'm super social, then I have those moments where I need to like just
Yeah,
have a moment there.
yeah,
And I don't know if it's like two extremes, but it's more so I only have a certain amount of energy too before
right.
the battery goes empty. But I really love everything you've said with your photography business now, and like, you know, you have like a household, you have like kids, you are doing the most with your business. How do you even juggle everything? Yeah.
Everyone always says, "How do you do it?"
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how I do it. Um, I don't think there's any magic formula as such. It's you do the best you can. You put one foot in front of the other, and you do the best you can. So, for example, this morning, my husband's away this week, so I'm dealing with both kids. And my daughter leaves very early in the morning, and then I got up, got her ready, put some makeup on because I knew I had to do this.
Yeah.
And then before my son woke up, and had my coffee, and then got him ready, ran, dropped him off, and came and did this. And then I live by alarms, so my phone literally has alarms. So call so and so, email so and so. That's the way that the night before, I kind of work out what's in my calendar. What do I need to do? And I also just don't make tons and tons of lists, because what I found was that when I made a big long list, it just became overwhelming. So I say to myself, right, what are the top 3 things that I have to do tomorrow? And what's the most important, and by order of importance? And if I can do 5, and that those 3 could be to do with work, and then there's everything else that happens. The issue I normally have is that there's a lot of stuff that happens that I can't control, and I'm very good at multitasking, which is a blessing and a curse, because sometimes you can multitask. So while I'm boiling the kettle to make a cup of tea, I'm emptying the dishwasher and probably sending some emails. You know,
Right.
short
It's,
answer is I do the best I can, and it's one foot in front of the other. And
I mean,
ask for help. Ask for help. That's the other thing I've learned. Delegate
do
and
you
ask for
do
help.
you do you find that like, so I think one of the things in like American society you see in these articles and everything is like the lack of a village. Do you feel like your village is something that you created with like maybe even local friends? If not, because not everyone has family nearby. So do
Right.
you,
So yeah,
yeah.
yeah. My family's all in London, and then my in-laws are in California, so we're smack bang in the middle. When we got here, we didn't really have any family. We had a few friends,
Mhm.
but over the last 10 years or so, the first year I really spent just kind of working out our lives here in New York with a 1-year-old. And even though I hadn't started the business properly, I hadn't registered the business, I was just kind of finding my feet. And inadvertently, I was building my community in our local park, and I she started going to preschool, so then the preschool friends became family. So I have like a New York family, I call, and yes, they have become my village. So during COVID, when I was pregnant, I had a village of people who were super helpful, and my parents come as often as they can every year for at least 2 months, or sometimes 3 months at a time. They're super helpful. It's so amazing when they come. So yeah, I do have a village which I'm super grateful for, and each
I
one it
love
helps in different ways.
I love that. I think because I know so many people listening this are probably going to be like they're entrepreneurs, creatives, maybe those that are just aspiring to start their own ventures, but I think so often people feel discouraged because they have all these big dreams, but they don't have the support. And for someone like you, what you just said is you kind of like built your own community and support system in many ways. And now, like working with some really big named, celebrities, clients, things of that nature, um, how does it feel now to look at your reality and work and just see how far you've come
You know
since
what?
those days in London? Yeah.
It's so funny. I often say this to people, and I need to take my own advice. I don't stop enough to really think about it all. And it's only when you or people mention it that I kind of had to stop and realize. And you know that every year you do that yearly recap. As crazy as it is, sometimes it's actually nice to do because you realize what's happened over the year alone. Or when those memories come up on your phone to say what you did, this was this time last year or this time 10 years ago. I get jolted when I remember, oh wow, I did that shoot or I had that moment. So it feels humbling. It feels good. I am super proud of myself because it's not been easy at all. And for me, I've realized everything has happened at a much later stage in my life. I'm about to hit 50 in a few months, and I'm doing 50 things before I turn 50. I'm like going for it, and I'm ready to celebrate it. But I realized that this was my time to really come in myself and do all the things that I was supposed to do. Yes, I had an incredible 50 years previous, but this is when I feel like I'm really like doing it. I don't know how to explain it other than there's a certain
I
power in me that feels like it's never felt before.
I think what you just said is so important for so many people to hear because, and I just feel sometimes I feel like this. I was thinking about it this morning where it's like I feel like there's this timer or this clock that's on my back where it's like I feel like this rush that I have to make all these things happen. Like, to be honest, like I started my storytelling business 6 years ago, but I've learned so many lessons. There were like a lot of ups, a lot of like, whoa, I can't believe, that happened. And sometimes there's just so much pressure along with all the things that life has brought where it's like, you should have, like, and so you hearing that gives me hope, gives a lot of people hope, I'm sure that you can't rush the timing of your own life and you still have time. As Gary
Where do
Vee
you
says, yeah.
Yeah, no, where do you
Yeah.
feel the pressure though? Where are you getting this pressure from?
But I'm like, God, like you just wish you just didn't have all this in the background. Like,
You need to turn off
yeah,
that noise.
yeah,
You need to turn it off and just concentrate on what makes you happy. It's easier said than done.
yeah,
Trust me, I know. But yeah, it'll happen.
yeah,
It'll happen.
yeah. I mean, there are certain things I do want for my life, but at the same time, it's like, I think this is the first time in a really long time where I've had this blank slate. I finally feel like energized again after the past 2 years. And I'm like, no, I feel like I need to protect it a bit. And
Yeah.
the right people have to really understand you that you are creative, that you have things going on. I
Mm-hmm.
think they add to it rather than subtract from it. Um,
Yep.
and yeah, so
And it
yeah,
shouldn't
so maybe.
be it shouldn't be sort of why aren't you doing this? It's how can I help you?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah,
it shouldn't even be why aren't you married? Why aren't you having kids? It should be do you want to get married or do you want to have
right.
kids? At least then I can stop asking you. People are curious, sadly, and that's the trajectory people are used to. It's now slowly changing. And again, with my kids, I don't ask them, I don't say to them, when you get married, when you have kids, I say, if you decide to get married, if you decide to have kids. So already in their minds, I'm putting this kind of idea that it's not expected of you, you know?
Right.
It, so I want them to be able to have choices. I think at the end of the day, it's all about being able to make choices which are right for you, right and safe for you. As parents, all we want to do and all our parents wanted to do was protect you and make sure that as and when we leave this world, you are able to be supported by yourself, with a partner, whoever that might be.
Mm-hmm.
So that it comes from a good place. It's just
Right. Right.
that a certain
Yeah.
generation isn't able to say it in the same way that now we are learning to tell our children. So there's a shift.
I think, yeah, no, I appreciate that shift. Like, I appreciate that shift. And I am pretty grateful that people like my aunt, you know, now that my mom's not around, she does ask me, she's like, do you want this? Do you and I'm like, wow, this is the first person who asked me, do I want it? I lived in New York twice. I lived in Harlem and Brooklyn,
Oh,
but
nice.
never, yeah. So yeah, so for people listening today, like I think building a business, it's it's obviously portrayed as glamorous, but the actual work that goes into it is so unseen. Like people will see the Instagram, but they won't see the reality of what's actually happening behind the scenes. So for anyone who's looking to start a business, what would your advice be to them?
Boy. Ask people for help. So don't be afraid to go out there and ask people for help in terms of whatever it might be, the business, writing the business plan, the accounting, the marketing, the legal advice, whatever it is. Delegate the stuff you don't enjoy or are not good at. And I know as an initial entrepreneur, you don't have much money, so you're trying to sort of keep costs low, but it's worthwhile putting certain investment in at an early stage, and it doesn't have to be expensive. There are a lot of experts out there who deal with starting businesses on single entrepreneurs and with their budgets. There are ways that you can barter your services, but please, please, please make sure it's value for value. So let's just say, let's give me and you, for example, anyone, like if I was to give my services without physical payment, if it's got to be two things. First of all, you've got to value what I do, but other than that, what you give me in return has to be of the same equivalent value. So
Right.
if I was going to buy your services or product, does it account for the same amount that I'm giving you for mine? I hope that makes sense. Value for
So true.
value. So you know you could
Yeah.
do that as a starting entrepreneur. You can barter, but please do value for value, and just do it one step at a I was stuck in perfection paralysis. Everything has to be perfect. My logo, my website, blah blah blah. It doesn't. Just do it. Just get it started, and be authentic. Be the person that you're going to be in person as you are on social media, because people will see straight through it. If on the social media you're one person, then they meet you you're in real life and you're not the same, they're going to lose trust. They're not going to believe you, and then they're not going to probably come to you for whatever you're selling to them. So those are my, I don't know how many that was, but those are my
Do
kind
you
of things I
do
wish I
you
knew.
do you see a lot of that, or it's like maybe actually I don't want to put you on the spot like that, but
That's okay,
it
go for
is
it.
true. Like, and I mean, like, have you ever, for instance, seen people online and then met them in person? You're like, whoa, your energy isn't as friendly,
Yeah, I mean there
or it's just
are a
different. Yeah,
few.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, it's different. Yeah,
Yeah.
and you just know who your people are as a result, you know. Or sometimes, but the one thing I have learned is don't just judge a person by your initial reaction. Sometimes they might be having a bad day, they might be having a bad moment. You know, give them a chance, because it just that one encounter might not really be who they really are. They might be like we are when we're tired in an event
I
and
know.
we want to
Yeah.
be sitting in a
Yeah.
corner just eating our, you know, food.
Yeah.
So give people a chance, but yeah, I have. But you're going to do that no
Got
matter
it.
what happens in life.
Right. I love, yeah, I love that like compassionate lens too. I know when we had met, I was actually at a pretty low. Like I was just like on the entail of grief, but now I'm like getting my spark back. So I really appreciate that we were able to have this conversation. And my last question for you, because this is the Stories to Sales podcast, is when you think of storytelling, how does it tie to the work you do?
Oh
And
my
why is
God,
it
it's
important?
everything.
Yeah.
It's everything.
Yeah.
So I kind of say my personal branding is, and headshots, is storytelling. It's storytelling in photos. You know, you have these snapshot pictures of you, and you as a person, probably have different personas that you want to show and put out there. So that's your story, right? Someone said to me, again, another mentor I have, Heike, she describes it as your headshot is the cover of the book, and the pages of the book are your the personal branding pictures are the storytelling part of your book. So it kind of tells who you are. And I love that analogy because essentially that is what I do. I work with every single client uniquely to them, and create a shot list and shoot unique to them, telling their story, as opposed to cookie cutting everybody's shoot and making it pretty much look the same. So yeah, storytelling is pretty much at the heart of what I do. Just I do it with photos.
I love what you just said, that you treat every client experience so unique to the person. I think as when I do client interviews to learn about their story, so for their messaging, for that purposes, I also feel like no two people's story is the same. And so I'm like, all right, if I book a shoot with you one day, um, you know, which definitely want to do one day,
I would
that
love that.
yeah, I really like that approach where none of us are the same, but we all have something unique to offer, whether we can illuminate that through photography, through visual means, through words, etc. So without further ado, thank you, Rashmi, for your
Thank
time
you.
today.
Oh my gosh, I love this.
Yeah.
What a beautiful way of spending my morning. Thank you so
Oh,
much for having me.
this actually inspired me. I'm like, why don't I just record in mornings too? Like we'll have
Yeah,
coffee and it'll,
yeah.
yeah. So, and I'm gonna include like links to your Instagram, your work, because I'm sure so many creatives are gonna be listening to this, and everyone needs a photographer, and your journey itself speaks for its, volume. So thank you
Thank
for
you
your
so
time
much.
today.
No, thank you for having me. And yeah, keep going. One foot in front of the other.
I love that. Thank you.